Okay, you big hunk of a man, come and get me.
Welcome to Hamburgers and Horror, the home of meat, monsters, and masked killers fighting psychic teenage girls. I'm Noah Hook, and today we're looking at Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. This 1988 slasher takes place 10 years after Jason Lives, where a young woman with telekinetic powers returns to Crystal Lake to confront her troubled past, only to accidentally free Jason from his underwater grave. She tries to warn her mother, her sketchy-ass doctor, and a new group of horny teens, but she soon realizes she is the only one who can stop the undead murder machine. Jason Lives reignited some interest in the Friday franchise, but at this point producers didn't really know where to take it. There was actually a lot of discussion about a Freddy vs. Jason film, but unfortunately the distribution companies couldn't reach an agreement and the project was abandoned until 2003. Producers really just started throwing things at the wall to see what would stick, and they ended up landing on a screenplay by Daryl Haney, which saw a final girl who could really take on Jason. Frank Mancuso liked the idea of a Jason vs. Carrie concept and decided the film needed a high-profile director to match it. The New Blood was directed by John Carl Buechler, a prolific writer, director, and effects artist. He directed a lot of creature features like Troll and Cellar Dweller, but his effects can be seen in a variety of classics including Reanimator, From Beyond, Ghoulies, Carnosaur, Tammy and the T-Rex, and Hatchet. Hell, in 1988 alone, Buechler worked on The New Blood, The Dream Master, and The Return of Michael Myers. That's fucking cool. Buechler sadly passed away in 2019, but his mark on the horror genre will remain for a very long time. Daryl Haney stuck around to write the full screenplay, who has also written Xtro 3, Crime Zone, and a bunch of Emmanuelle and space movies. If you know, you know. The film stars Lar Park Lincoln from House 2 as Tina, Kevin Spirtas from The Hills Have Eyes 2 as Nick, Sue Blue from the 1986 Transformers movie as Mrs. Shepard, and Terry Kaiser from Weekend at Bernie's as Dr. Cruz. This also marks the Jason Voorhees debut of Kane Hodder, a horror legend from films like Monster, The Devil's Rejects, Leslie Vernon, and Hatchet. He's gone on to play Voorhees in Manhattan, The Final Friday, and Jason X, and he's who a lot of people answer when you ask who their favorite Jason actor is. Cinematography was handled by Paul Elliott of My Girl and 976 Evil, and y'all already know Harry Manfredini is rocking the music. Although this time around he was a bit busy, so he shared some of that spotlight with Fred Mullen. The New Blood was shot on a budget of $3 million in just 7 months, and it ended up having to run an absolute gauntlet against the MPAA. They had to re-edit the film 7 times because it kept receiving an X rating, so the final cut ended up without a lot of Buechler's gruesome effects. Sadly, those shots only exist as work prints now, so there's no shot of a really final version of the film ever existing. The film ended up grossing $19 million at the box office, still proving to be a success, but also being the lowest grossing Friday film so far. Unsurprisingly, The New Blood was despised by critics who found it boring, repetitive, and implausible. It currently has a disappointing 35 and 37% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 2.6 on Letterboxd places it somewhere in the middle of the franchise. For me, The New Blood is where the franchise starts to hit a decline that they never really recover from, but there is still a lot to appreciate in here. Come and get me, you big hunk of man, because we're watching Friday the 13th, The New Blood. The movie opens with a joyful recap of Crystal Lake's death curse, voiced by Crazy Ralph himself.
There's a legend round here. A killer buried, but not dead. They say he died as a boy, but he keeps coming back.
It ends with Tommy dragging Jason to the bottom of the lake, which is apparently where he has been chilling ever since. Just a few years later, a young Tina Shepard is listening to her parents fight at their Crystal Lake home.
Please don't drink anymore.
Don't tell me what to do!
The scared child flees to their rowboat as her drunken father runs after her. She refuses to come back ashore, telling the abusive piece of shit she hates him and wishes he would die. Well, I got news for you, Tina. Wish granted. Her rage causes the lake to bubble and the dock to wobble, eventually collapsing with Papa Shepherd aboard. Homie drowns, and spoiler alert, the Crystal Lake police also leave his body in the lake. Tina, now 17 years old, and her mother are returning to Crystal Lake for the first time since the accident. This is a part of her rehabilitation, as she has been in and out of psychiatric care for years now. Yo Tina, I know a little lad you'd have a lot in common with. They arrive at their old home where Dr. Cruz is waiting. And of course there are some horny teens renting a cabin next door. There are a lot of them and they are not very memorable, so let me run through their names and singular character traits right now. We've got love interest Nick. He is the standard boring white boy who may or may not survive alongside the final girl. Then there's Melissa, the resident rich mean girl. Horny couple Russell and Sandra, second horny couple Ben and Kate, nerdy girl Maddie, vapid girl Robin, sci-fi writer Eddie, and big doobie smoker David. Cruz gets right to work with Tina, capturing her telekinetic ability on camera. It isn't something she can do on the fly, the powers only emerge when she is emotionally distressed. Tina is concerned he is more interested in her powers than helping her heal, accidentally lighting the matchbook ablaze. Missing her abusive, drunken father, Tina runs to the lake she killed him at. She wishes she could bring him back to life, but unfortunately there is another body in the lake who is chomping at the bit to get back to his usual routine. Believing the presence is her father, Tina uses her very vague powers to juice Jason up, bringing him to life and freeing him from his underwater grave. Tina passes out at the sight of Mr. Voorhees, who graciously wanders off in another direction. Cruz and Mama Amanda find Tina, who apparently can't describe the very specific looking man who popped out of the water. Big as fuck, deformed, hockey mask, any of that ringing a bell? Cruz assumes this is a hallucination brought on by her guilt, but Tina don't like that explanation. Meanwhile, a car-troubled couple named Michael and Jane are hoofing it to the party cabin, as he is Nick's cousin and they are gathering for his birthday. Nick invites Tina to join them for the festivities, but unfortunately the boy of honor won't be in attendance. Big bony Jason finds the couple, and while Michael's taking a leak, he kills Jane with a tent spike to the back of her head. Jason retrieves the spike to reuse it on Michael, using his patented slow walk to hunt him down. After lining up a perfect shot, he yeets it into the birthday boy's back. Nick introduces Tina to his motley crew of pals, with the only notable points being that both Maddie and Robin have a crush on David, and Tina has a vision of Michael being shanked in the neck. Tina is shooketh by her vision and runs home, noticing the same kind of spike on her way inside. Cruz obviously doesn't think anything of it, and it doesn't help that the spike is missing when she tries to show them. We still have some time to kill, so let's kill some randos. Meet campers Dan and Judy, one of whom is getting wood and one of whom is hoping to get some. Dan gets a quick fist through the ribcage, providing Jason with a shiny new machete to play with. He uses it to slice open the tent, removing Jane and her sleeping bag. In one of his simplest and most iconic kills, he thwacks her against a tree. Melissa has been mad thirsty for Nick and is prowling around as he and Tina chat. For some reason, he is very into women with dead daddy issues. Good for you two, I guess. Robin tells Maddie that David would never go for a dork like her, and Melissa uses Eddie to make fun of Tina's mental illness. Oh yeah? Clutch these pearls, bitch. Okay, bye! Tina is freaked out by this sudden burst of rage, and Cruz refuses to let her return home or to the hospital, as they are apparently on the verge of a breakthrough. An argument between Amanda and Cruz sends her spiraling, ultimately launching a TV at his head. Okay, bye! Tina runs into Nick outside and warns him that something is really wrong here, believing his cousin never showed up because he is dead. Amanda decides the two of them are leaving in the morning, but something tells me that might not happen. Time to kill some teenagers! First up is horny couple Russell and Sandra. Sandra brings the franchise back to its roots with a skinny dipping scene, but poor Russ can't even get his shirt off before Jason whacks him with an axe. Deep diving Sandra finds her boyfriend very dead, and teleporting Jason joins her in the water. He goes full Bruce the Shark and pulls her to the bottom of the lake. Both fueled by jealousy, Maddie gives herself a very 80s makeover to compete with Robin, and Melissa kisses Eddie in an attempt to make Nick jealous. Meanwhile, Amanda is snooping through fishy-ass Dr. Crew's office, and the not-so-good doctor comes to realize that Tina's vision was true. Amanda finds the spike that went missing, I guess meaning that Cruz hid it to gaslight Tina, along with some pretty damning cassettes. Yeah, bro has been keeping this poor girl constantly traumatized in order to harness her powers for his own sick gains. Tina listens in as Cruz threatens to lock her up in a mental institution forever, and oh, okay, bye! Tina really stays running away from her problems. She's halted by another vision though, this time of her mother being butchered. She crashes the car into a tree. Great job, Tina. Maddie in her vintage outfit search for David in the woods for no discernible reason. Why the fuck would you think he's out there? But she does stumble across Jason and Russell's flying corpse. She flees to a nearby barn, not sure who that belongs to, and she tries to hide as the big guy stalks her. Jason ultimately kills her by busting through the wall and slicing her with a sickle. Amanda and Cruz go searching for Tina, whose dumbass decided not to walk back via the road, I guess. At least her woodland journey somehow led her to lover boy Nick. Wait, what is he doing in the woods? Robin is finally getting it on with David, Melissa is reluctantly getting it on with Eddie, and Ben and Kate are getting it on in a van. They mistake Jason's knocking for Michael, and Ben goes searching for him. He gets a very lackluster head squeeze, and she gets a party horn in the cornea. Melissa rudely admits to Eddie that she isn't interested in him and was simply using him to try and make Nick jealous. He obviously doesn't take it well. Jason cuts the power, and Nick finds his cousin mangled in a tree. Hunter-gatherer David searches for some post-coitus munchies, not noticing Jason lurking in the corner. The starving stoner takes a big-ass kitchen knife to the gut, and Tina returns home to realize Cruz has been playing her. She also finds her father's old gun, along with evidence that Cruz has known about Jason's presence all along? What does all this mean exactly? Who the fuck knows? But it's got Tina angry. Eddie's pathway to becoming an incel and a thief is sadly cut short, along with his throat. Since Melissa snuck out, Robin is the only meatbag left inside. She comes across David's severed head, and Jason, say it with me everybody, yeets her out the window! Nick rushes off to find his friends while Tina waits for her mom to return, who is busy arguing with Cruz in the middle of the woods. He realizes they're no longer alone, I guess Jason teleported his ass out there real quick, and they flee as Jason lumbers toward them with a tree trimmer. Cruz doubles down on his shittiness, using Amanda as a human shield. Damn. After finding what's left of his pals, Nick returns to the Shepherd house, but all he finds there is Melissa. Tina has obviously ventured back into the woods, where a blood-soaked Cruz tries to convince her that her mom is definitely alive and well. She runs away from him, and Cruz runs into Jason and his weed whacker. Boy, he is going for variety in this film. Tina comes across her mom's corpse, along with a bunch of others in Jason's growing collection. Which means it's finally time for a final psychic girl circuit. Suddenly able to master her telekinesis, she wraps Jason up Evil Dead style, knocks him into a puddle, and electrocutes him with a telephone line. Well damn, that was easy. Just kidding. It'll take more than that to put this twice revived zombie down. She rushes into the party house, followed by Jason via an awesome window entrance, but she buys herself some time by yeeting a couch and severed head in a planter at him. Damn, then she drops a whole fucking awning onto him. She reunites with Nick and Melissa, falsely declaring that Jason is dead. Melissa doesn't buy any of this crazy story and opens the door to leave, only to receive an axe to the dome. Her lifeless corpse gets yeeted across the room, and the two narrowly make it past Jason upstairs. The doors are locked for some reason, so Tina sends Jason flying through the staircase. He emerges before they can escape, and Tina resorts to constricting Jason's mask to protect Nick. The hockey mask shatters to pieces, revealing a great decomposed face. She strangles him with an electric cable and drops him into the basement, but of course Jason wakes up and pulls her below. Ooh boy, he is angry. She launches a barrage of nails at him and douses him in gasoline, using the furnace to light Voorhees up. I don't have anything smart to say here, just look at this cool ass fire stunt. Tina and Nick flee as the house begins to burn. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean fucking explodes. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great explosion, but what the fuck were the shepherds keeping in that house? Jason couldn't have survived that, right? Wrong. The big burnt boy returns and eats a few bullets before knocking Nick into a boat. But just when all hope seems lost, Tina uses her almighty powers to resurrect her dad? Wait, why isn't he decomposed? Why does he have a chain? Ah well, he pulls Jason back into the lake and Tina passes out, I guess. That morning, she and Nick are taken to the hospital, and for the first time ever, one of these films doesn't end with a cue that Jason is still alive. The end. And that's The New Blood. This one is a pretty mixed bag as far as Friday films go, in my opinion. There is some really good stuff here, but you gotta go through a lot of mediocre stuff to get to it. On the positive side of things, Kane Hodder turns in a badass performance as Jason. The amount of crazy stunts he was willing to go through just provides so many great action sequences. From all the underwater scenes, the staircase fall, the awning collapse, and the longest on-screen fire stunt at the time, you can't deny that Jason takes one hell of a beating here. And most of those great stunts take place in one of the most exciting finales this franchise has seen. Not to mention, Jason looks awesome here. I love the skeletal elements sticking out of his body. But outside of Jason and the finale, the rest of this film is pretty forgettable. Tina makes for a pretty good final girl, and her powers had a lot of potential, but the story between her and Cruz is just so underexplored it leaves way more questions than answers. Lar Park Lincoln did a good job conveying Tina's instability and fear, but I don't think she was given dialogue to really give her a personality outside of her childhood trauma. This new group of teens is a big backpedal from the great characters we got in Jason Lives. They are all just so bland and one note. I do like Amanda though. Sue Blue sold her performance as a caring, distressed, and enraged mother. I wish her death was treated like a bigger loss. They honestly spent more time showing us Nick mourn his cousin we knew for like 2 minutes. This partially isn't the fault of the filmmakers, but these are absolutely the weakest kills we've had in the franchise so far. It's just Jason finding an isolated person and quickly eliminating them with a random ass weapon over and over and over again. There's no real suspense because all of the characters are so clearly expendable, and these really repetitive sequences are made worse by the fact that there's not even any good practical effects to see. I can't help but wonder what this film and the entire franchise would look like if it didn't have to deal with the MPAA. And I'm sorry, but I can't get behind the ending of this film. Tina's dad bursting to life and pulling Jason below is so stupid. He looks like such a fucking goober. Also, dude was a drunk wife beater. Making him the deus ex machina is an odd choice to say the least. All in all though, The New Blood is still a decent slasher film. It has some creative kills, fantastic stunts, an epic finale, and a badass new look for Jason. It has Mr. Voorhees on screen a lot of the time, which is a big plus, and the generic horny teens serve their role about as well as their counterparts in most of this franchise. I appreciate the willingness to try something new with telekinesis, and there are some genuinely funny moments as well. It isn't one of my personal favorites in the series, but I totally understand if the uniqueness of Part 7 puts it higher in your rankings. Well, that's about it. Soon I'll be taking a trip to New York, but first I gotta check out a mystery patron request. Tune in. As always, I'm Noah Hook, and thanks for watching Hamburgers and Horror. Stay safe out there. Thanks for watching my review of Friday Part 7. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up with all my horror reviews, and if you want to help support the channel further, you should check out my Patreon account. You'll be able to vote for future movies and franchises I cover on the channel. Thanks y'all.